Hello to everyone, welcome, and thank you very much for your participation. I mean, this is your webinar. What we've been doing is to facilitate it and to coordinate it, organize it. On this, Pollock has been fundamental, and also Alessandra, that is in Milan and cannot be with us because of a technical problem also there. When I say we facilitate, coordinate, and organize, this is the organization I'm the Director General for, which is Citizens Platform on Climate Change and a Sustainable World, and UNESCO Communication and Information Sector. We wanted to do this very precisely to contribute to empower youth leadership through featuring solutions that already exist and solutions that are being implemented in different parts of the world. This is the objective of this, and also deliberately focusing on the south of the world, which is the part of the world that is mostly affected by the climate change threat and not contributing too much to worsen the problem, which happens basically in the north of the world or in the economically rich countries. We know that there's less information about climate change and sustainability issues in the south, and nevertheless a lot of disinformation and fake news. My name is Riccardo Grassi. I'm an author, a journalist. I enjoy trying to be an activist. I'm from Argentina. I'm based in Italy currently, though, and climate change, the Citizens Platform on Climate Change is an independent initiative focusing exclusively on disseminating accurate information that we produce in partnership with scientists, and to encourage action by covering and disseminating initiatives that are taking place in any part of the world, north and south. And together with that, we are building what we call the climate change communication convergence, which means coming together to multiply the impact of what each organization and media is doing. The only condition is accuracy. So we will start. We will try to be each one as short as possible because we are a lot together, which is good. And I have more or less organized the conversation, grouping topics that somehow coincide. I will be mentioning each speaker and introducing each one of you, and we will start with a topic that more or less comes together with what I put here, like smart sustainability practices, and that I would give the floor to Kulsum Siddiqui, and that is in Pakistan. She has been at the forefront of the youth-driven activities in Pakistan to mitigate climate change by not only engaging communities and organizations, but thousands of students. With her efforts, her university, which is IOBM, improved 100 points globally on the UI Green Metric Campus ranking within a year of sustainable practices advocated for and implemented at the university of over 14,000 students. She then started to involve educational institutions from across Karachi with her team of 500 members and volunteers to engage in a similar youth-led initiatives and activities. Her work and her projects center around human rights in my country. Around human rights in my country, climate action, was selected among 18 other projects globally. She received intensive training at the UN headquarters in Geneva to implement her project in Pakistan. Then she was appointed as a head of youth for Pakistan by the United Nations Association of Pakistan in 2018 to set up youth chapter, UNAP youth chapters with over 1,000 schools, colleges, and universities in the country. And she structured a digital framework for young people to engage with various sustainability-related organizations and organize a number of events, online and in person. Currently, she is planning and executing mock COP and number 13 for students across Pakistan in collaboration with WWF. She will tell us about a particular very interesting initiative, which is called 5S. It's a method for sustainable development. And the word to you, Kulsum, please.
Thank you so much, Ricardo, for that introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Kulsum Siddiqui. So today I will be talking about, I hope I'm audible, I will be talking about the 5S methodology incorporated with the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. Now, we already have been successful in aligning these two things, which don't sound like they could intertwine, but have been able to work well. And over 50,000 students from Pakistan in the past 10 months were able to submit entries showing us how they used 5S and how they integrated it with various sustainable development goals. Now, to give some context of what 5S is and why it works so well, I'll just share my screen and show everybody what 5S is. So 5S means to improve, I hope my screen is visible. 5S means to improve efficiency and reduce wastage in all aspects of life by the means of following 5 simple steps called 5S: sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and then sustain. Now, let me explain that these S's are not as straightforward as one might assume them to be. What is sort? Sort is not just sorting out things and the general traditional way that we understand sort to be. It actually means to not just to sort out items and put things in order. It also means to prioritize the most important tasks and eliminate the unnecessary ones. It means essentially to be more organized, be it tasks or be it managing anything, right? Now, the next S that I'm going to talk about is straighten. Seiton in Japanese, as it's called, is it means to designate a specific space for every single task that one intends to do. Now, there's a lot of correlation of Seiton or straighten, which I will also explain ahead with regards to sustainability. A lot of sustainability stems from efficiency and reduced wastage. That is pretty much the crux of 5S as well as sustainability. So, for instance, I'll give you a very basic example of straighten. We saw that the SDG responsible production and consumption aligns perfectly with straighten, be it in a professional setting or in a personal setting. If we are more we are more organized, and we straighten our activities out, designate spaces are less inefficient with our activities in a professional setting, we end up saving a lot of resources when we have specific spaces designated, and studies show that having straighten or Seiton in your life eliminates a lot of wastage, right? The third S, shine or say so, means to systematically clean as you work, and it results in a safer environment to work in as well. Now, good health and well being, as well as responsible production and consumption, are two very important things that also go hand in hand with climate action, life on land, and life below water. This example is also something that is so universal. This S is also so universal that there are a ton of examples that we got from students on how they implemented Shine and how that actually kind of made their environment more sustainable. The fourth um, S is standardize or seiketsu. Now, seiketsu means to develop efficient patterns to achieve a positive result, and it is always better to have steps and procedures written down and standardized so that others may attempt the same task and they can do so with the same efficiency. Now, one thing that I really loved that a student submitted for standardized was his work in mangrove plantations. He showed us how there was an underprivileged community, and when there was an underprivileged community that had been planting without a system in place, planting mangroves, because that community kind of their livelihood depended on mangroves. So what that child and his team did was they intervened. That young person intervened. They went in and they kind of explained to them the steps and patterns they could follow to have an efficient plantation campaign, mangrove plantation campaign, how there would be certain steps that would be followed A to Z, and how that would increase their plant yield. It would increase their reduce the mortality rates of the mangroves planted, and these mangroves in turn ended up benefiting the sea life, the marine life, because marine life is heavily dependent on the mangroves near it. It is food and fodder for the animals. Also, it also helps life on land, which is animals, birds. It also helps people with their livelihoods because they have other things that are attached. For instance, fishermen are attached to these mangroves. Finally, climate action is also very contingent and correlated with, which is SDG 13, is also correlated with mangroves. So I'm just giving you how one example of a student implementing standardized in any activity, be it a professional or a personal activity, resulted in achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and simultaneously that student also ensured there was sustainability and uplifting of a community with a community based and young people, youth driven action. The last S that I would like to discuss is sustain, which is Shitsuke. Now, Shitsuke is pretty much full circle because this is exactly what ties in with sustainability. And use the above four S's as needed and ensure that you develop healthy habits and ways of doing things in your daily life. That's it from me. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I hope that, maybe my words kind of had an impact and gave insight to how this 5S method, which is actually used for manufacturing cars and is founded by Toyota, can actually be implemented in a lot of professional settings, a lot of personal daily life settings, and align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Very much. And very interesting. So, if we agree, we would try to disseminate this system with adding whatever elements you. Now, I would like to move to Shilshila Charia in Nepal that would like to refer to the indigenous knowledge as solutions and through education. She's the founder of the Hamri Bahini, the Green Angels Self-Employed. For this, in 2015, the USA Global Good Fund awarded Shilshila as one of the most promising young social entrepreneurs around the world. At the University of Bergen, she completed her master's degree on environmental science after getting the Bachelor of Science degree at Kathmandu University. Shilshila specializes in climate, waste, and environmental services, while her industry knowledge comprises environmental education, environmental policy and consulting, sustainable development, recycling and waste management and reduction. In 2010, Chinchilla was awarded by the WWF in recognition for her efforts to reduce plastic pollution in Nepal by leading the youth-driven "No Thanks, I Carry My Own Bag" campaign. Already in 2010, she got the Nepal Girls Education Award issued by the Ministry of Education of Nepal. So, to you, I mean, Sushila has been closely observing practices in Nepal by original populations that, as it happens in other parts in the world, they have solutions, ancient and durable solutions for many of the things we are facing today. And the problem is that things in the world went in a way that, well, eliminated, ignored that enormous knowledge and know-how. Cecilia, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Ricardo. Thank you for having me here today and for allowing me to talk on my topic today, which is uh, indigenous knowledge as a climate solution. So today, the topic of my presentation is indigenous knowledge as a climate solution. We all got the latest IPCC report last month. And basically, it said the crux of the report was that we humans are digging our own grave. And it said that humans are guilty as hell in creating the problem of climate change. And, nothing short of transforming society, transforming our lives will avert catastrophe. And we have the next 10 years to do that. And the report did not say anything new. For someone like me who's been thinking of this for the past 10 years, it just reinforced what we already knew, right? So when we talk of transforming society, transforming our lifestyles, transforming the way we live, um, now the other question arises: where will that transformation come from in the next 10 years, right? And the answer to this could lie in indigenous knowledge. For example, we can take the example of California, where we keep on hearing about bigger and bigger fires every year, which are also the fires are so intense that they also damage the mature trees, which are not supposed to be damaged. The fires are now so big that the U.S. government, with all their military and all their resources, are not being able to control those fires. But when we dig down, we can find that the traditional burning practices that the indigenous communities used to practice, um, like they knew the land, and they knew when to burn, how much of fuel was accumulating, and when it was time to burn, and they burnt it in such a way that the excess fuel would be burned, and the fire would not destroy the bigger trees, but only the weeds and the extra fuel. So there was a pattern. But when those cultural practices were decimated, along with that, the fuel kept on accumulating, and then now we have such big fires that even the government cannot control, which the indigenous communities used to control easily. So studies after studies have shown that indigenous communities all over the world have been living very closely and in harmony with nature for centuries, which is the need going forward. That's what we mean when we say we need to transform the way we live, right? We need to live in more harmony with nature, and we need to learn to respect nature. And Nepal is considered home to one of the oldest civilization in the world with living traditions. And by oldest, we mean 5,000 to 6,000 years old. And by living traditions, it means that a lot of civilizations, a lot of old civilizations were destroyed. But and we just get to know about their remnants now. But Nepal is one place where we still practice those cultures and traditions till this date. So it's a place with living traditions and culture. And on the other hand, Nepal is also one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. And while Nepal is, inside Nepal and also outside Nepal, countries like Nepal who are very vulnerable are seen as, waiting for help from other countries. And even that's the feeling among our politicians also, that, some foreigners must come to Nepal, must send us a lot of money so that we can do something. But we, the Nepali youth, have started seeing a, a different scenario, and we believe that the solutions are within us. And for example, Nepal has a lot of traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge, which could be very useful for us in fighting climate change, and not just for Nepal but for the world. For example, we can take the highly scientific and highly engineered water management system, and which were built 1200 to 1500 years back. And these traditional systems are called hitis. They are the stone spouts. And these systems, they have been running without much maintenance, just with simple cleaning mechanisms, especially using snakes and frogs. And they're just been running on the force of gravity. The water flows in these systems with the force of gravity, without needing any kind of fuel or diesel or electricity, for the past 1000 to 1200 years. And again, these hitis are made with locally available raw materials, resources, and technical know-how. And this technology is not found anywhere in the world. It is found only in Nepal. And this is just an example, but there are countless other such knowledge which are related to medicine, especially with Ayurveda. And we have a lot of knowledge related to sustainable architecture, making very sturdy and earthquake resistant buildings from wood, and also traditional regenerative farming, which is still practiced in Nepal. And it is still not lost. We can still preserve it. And also using a lot of eco-friendly products like leaf plates, which are still being used in a day-to-day basis, which could be an alternative to plastics. But the sad thing here is that though we have so much of knowledge and so much of technology that has been built over centuries, which could be actually useful to fight climate change in today's world, but we are losing this kind of knowledge at a very fast pace. The older generation, which possesses the reservoir of such knowledge, is, as they die, this knowledge is also being lost with them. And our generation, being enamored with, more like modern and Western kind of technologies and knowledge and education system, we are, we don't know the value of this and how it can help us in fighting the biggest problem that we face as humanity today, that is climate change. And if our generation doesn't act, we will lose this precious knowledge forever. And that's why, we, the Nepali youths, we want to make this realization of this age-old sustainable living knowledge mainstream among the youths of our generation in Nepal as well as in the world. And we want to offer these solutions to the world. With this motive, with this vision, Omni Center for Sustainability was started as a sustainability movement, and it focuses on knowledge and changing mindset, changing behaviors, and creating local leadership, which can also lead to systemic changes, but also changes at the individual level. And for that, we have launched multiple online courses on sustainability and climate education, and which are multidisciplinary courses offered by practitioners, young practitioners like me, on understanding sustainability, green economy, sustainability and entrepreneurship, creating a sustainable future. And in the past year, in the lockdown alone, we have educated more than 1,200 youths. Average age is 22, and one third are male, 2/3 are female, and they come from all locations within Nepal, very rural locations, as well as from all disciplines. And we also, apart from educating, we also design a lot of initiatives to engage Nepali youths to preserve and document these knowledges. And one of those examples is like snakes. They have a lot of role in our culture. They are seen as, if snakes are present in an ecosystem, the water is very pristine. So we wanted to promote the value of snakes in our culture. And also we launched initiatives like Indigenous knowledge fellowships. So these are, through the art competition, we documented a lot of arts and pictures like this, which depict the value of snakes. And we also, through this Indigenous knowledge fellowships, we engaged a lot of youths. Like in the first phase, we engaged 45 youths. Average age is again 22. 66% are women, and they have been documenting different knowledge all over in all different communities of Nepal. And we just give them the education and mentorship online from Kathmandu, but youths all over Nepal are documenting this kind of knowledge, which is found in their own communities, in the form of videos, in the form of documents, or in the form of write-up, drawings. So the examples of such knowledge that we are documenting at the moment include, how to preserve food without using any chemicals by traditional methods, how to prevent disasters, and how to stabilize these kind of dangerous terrains, especially in the hills, especially during monsoon, when there's a lot of rain, and how to document the sustainable building techniques used by indigenous communities, like modern dabble house, how to build these earthen structures which can store grain and seed and preserve native seeds, and also documenting a lot of cultural practices, especially in Kathmandu Valley. Like we have a lot of jatras, and we have a lot of these festivals where these chariots are made, and these chariots are an example of earthquake resistant building technologies, and these are demonstrated in mass to people. And though it is more like a traditional festival, but in a way it's also a mass demonstration of earthquake resistant technologies to the people, every year. It is built every year and it is demonstrated every year. And also we are documenting the engineering drawing of all these hittis, the inner structures, with the purpose of preparing, though we must take help from modern science and technology wherever appropriate to fight climate change. However, we just have roughly one decade for action, right? And we cannot discover so many new things in the next 10 years, or that have been developed over the last 100 or 200 years. But if we can tap into the indigenous knowledge and technologies which have been developed and perfected over many centuries, thousands of years, and which have been tailored to local needs and realities, indigenous knowledge can be really our key tool to fight climate change, to make sure that we recover in a green way from COVID crisis, and that we ensure sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this very interesting and important presentation. I would like really to start measuring with similar attitudes in other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. In some cases, it appears very clearly how the systems practices go against the traditional knowledge, and not only go against because are doing the opposite way, but also because they seem not to want this traditional and ancient knowledge to come up and to be implemented. Do you observe something similar in Nepal? Or this? No, you are mute.
Yeah, a lot of times, like it has been fed so much into our minds that whatever so-called developed countries are doing is good, and what we knew is kind of a primitive or backward. That has gone so much into our brains that we often neglect, or even scorn the things that we have, and try to follow others. Whereas when you closely look at it, there's so many genius things there, and the more you realize, the more you look at it, the more you realize that like it's like in that book Alchemist, like you have everything that you need right here, but you go all around the world and then discover that you had everything right.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I ask this because myself, but those of us together in the Citizens Platform on Climate Change and a Sustainable World Initiative. We think that we live in a world society that follows a pattern and follows a paradigm, and this paradigm has been built through centuries. Colonialism is part of that, of course, and a practice that puts individual wealth at the center. So, and that what we face is the need of changing a paradigm, and that is a complex operation where you need to be sensitive and sensible at the same time. because otherwise many people just react fearing that they will lose the way of living. No. So that's I deliberately put the question. Before moving to the next speaker and the next topic, I want to thank to some people that made all this possible. I mean, in the first Pollock, that has been picking up this challenge with enormous enthusiasm and implementing and performing really very, very well. And I want to thank you for that and everyone to know it. But then there's, of course, also UNESCO Islamabad that we asked for help into reaching and identifying youth worth to participate in this, and they did it immediately and very well. And some individuals like Kunda Dixit in Nepal and also in Nepal Bino Batarai that led Pollock and myself to some contacts, and then overall Drik in Bangladesh and Shahidul Alam and the Majority World Photo Agency and Saiful Islam.